Cardiff fans aren't happy. Reza's getting it wrong. Tactical nous is nothing. Taking off the wrong players. And referees are having a stinker in Cardiff games. We've got Jamie and James back with us to talk about that draw against Sheffield Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us too. We're also coming up on this week's episode, 35 weeks now we've been doing this, the best tweets from the weekend. They've also talked about the Fair Play League. Where do Cardiff sit in terms of the Black Arts? We'll have a look at that in a second. And are you club or country first? Would you rather Cardiff be promoted, or would you rather see Wales win the World Cup? We'll talk with these guys where their priorities lie. Right then, Jamie. Good to have proper football back, though, for a second, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Lovely day for it yesterday. First 3 o'clock home game we've had in a very long time, which is nice. And for 45 minutes, I really, really enjoyed it. And then it just felt like as soon as the halftime whistle, blown, we'd blown our chances probably of building more, momentum. And then, the second half is a second half I'd probably want to forget, to be honest.
What happened, James? Lots of fans were saying just what happened was that Danny Roll changed it at half-time and Reza stood on the touchline just watching it happen.
Yeah, so obviously in the first half it was decent. Could have probably been 2-0 up, at least 3. Second half then obviously they get their goal on the 60th minute, and so it's sort of the tactical changes, and I just the actual experience in manager is I think playing a very key part in our results over the last couple of weeks, and I just don't know where we go from here, to be honest.
Cheers for that. Let's look at a couple of tweets. So Gerwin here says, Jamie, we played okay, but it was bizarre to bring on El Ghazi. Equally bizarre to bring on Tanner without bringing on Colwell at the same time. Corners were also an issue. Ref was always going to penalise us when standing on the goal line. 9 useless corners. They had 1, and they scored from it. Lots to unpack there. Let's start by talking about the El Ghazi substitution. What did you make of that?
It's one of those ones, like, again, you want a player, especially of his pedigree, probably to do well, but I don't think we have seen a consistent amount of performances from Al Ghazi to say that he's gonna do something effective in the game. Let's say you take a Will Alves off, who in the first half, an attacking four of him, Kean Ashford, Isaac Davis, and Yusuf Salek were causing Sheffield Wednesday loads of problems. You then bring Al Ghazi on, and it just didn't seem to stick. He didn't make an impact. It was probably the negative impact. And then I think that sets the tone around things as well. Other changes after that, again, you mentioned the Tanner thing there. We're led to believe it was as a cramping from Periengi, which meant that he had to go to right back. But does that not say it all when you've brought on a player to play right wing and make an impact, taking off Isaac Davis, and then he's got to go to right back? I think second half, if I'm brutally honest, I think there was probably only one team who looked like they were going to go and pick up the 3 points. And we probably could argue that we were, a point was a good result, I suppose, after the way we played in the second half.
Cheers for that. What about the referee point and this bit about corners?
Yeah.
James, do you agree with what the poster's saying there? First of all, the referee was slated by both sides. I think he had an absolute shocker game. But what about this corners things? What's going wrong?
Yeah, I just think sort of the refs this season and probably for the last couple of seasons have been very inconsistent, and sort of the level of officiating has been quite a hot topic for a majority of clubs over the last couple of seasons. And it obviously sometimes just ruins the game really when you get so many bad decisions, and when you got both teams complaining about the ref, then you've definitely had a bad game.
To tail off the back of that, sorry, it was like, you get booked, that your captain gets booked after 3 minutes. That's fine. It's a challenge. It was late. And merely say a minute and a half, 2 minutes after that, Will Alves turns 2 Sheffield Wednesday players on a transition. It's a pullback. It's a yellow card. He doesn't do anything. And then he's trying to sort of sort of set a tone in the game by trying to talk to players. Well, you've lost control of the game. He was allowing players to run from 30 odd yards to get in his ear. And second half, especially, and Barry Bannon's a great player, and I highlighted in pre-game to say, don't let Barry Bannon control the game. But what he did do, I noticed with Barry Bannon, he was in Michael Salisbury's ear all the time. He was constantly in his ear. So he was almost like, he was attached to him. But that allowed them to sort of not dictate the game, but it allowed them to allow to get a flow in there and a rhythm. And again, like I said, he came out that stadium. I think Richard Shaw was very unhappy with him, our assistant manager, because you mentioned the corners there. It happens both sides. But when a defender theatrically falls down, he blows one way, and then you look at the opposite side. They score from a set piece, and the same thing happens. You kind of feel like if it's not going for you when you're down that side, sort of side of the table, it's not going for you. And yeah, yesterday I think I thought he'd be a good referee yesterday. I thought he's done well previously, but yesterday I thought he had a really poor game for both sides.
The other tweets we found were obviously all saying the same thing about Reza and similar things we've been saying all week. However, there's one name coming out which people would like to see come in immediately this week. In fact, Craig says, never seen a team like us, so happy at 1-1, just knocking it about so slow, like a mid-table side with nothing to play for, no urgency. Do us a favour, let the boys know it's a relegation fight. Warnock in. And then Warnock in for the next game, or it's League One. Derby and Luton will pick up more points than us. We are down unless the board acts now before Monday's morning's training session. As unlikely as it's going to be, James, to happen, would you like to see that?
Yeah, to be honest, I think there's been too many games that the tactical changes and sort of decisions have cost us this season. And I just think that inexperience is going to take us down this year. We haven't got any teams that are below us that are pending points deductions this year. It's just, like I say, with teams like Derby, I can see them scrapping a 1-0 result or something like that because they've got a manager that's well experienced in Championship football. And I know Riza's been sort of in charge now for a few months, but I just can't see where we pick up enough points to stay up, to be honest.
Connor says, I know a solution. It involves a corner flag. Andrew says, sleepwalking towards relegation here and have been for months. The style of football will be fine for the under-21s, but senior football is a results-driven business. You need coaching staff that provides results. We don't have that. Look, no one wants to see Cardiff go down, Jamie, apart from obviously our Swansea team, but it's a real prospect. It just might happen this season based on what you're watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because, we can go to a Blackburn, perform so well up in Blackburn and think, oh, hang on, the Luton game is a distant memory. And then all of a sudden we can play brilliant for 45 minutes and you think, wow, we might have turned a corner. And then for whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, that opponents, especially when they're 1-0 down, are going to have a rollicking at half time. They made 3 changes at half time, and Danny Rose is a very good manager. Certain clubs like Southampton are after him for a reason. But then the first 5 minutes of the second half, they're having a spell, and you're thinking, right, we need to do something here to stop this sort of constant flow of of attack after attack. And you look to the touchline, and you see only certain substitutes warming up, and you're thinking, we need to do something. And then it took for the goal, or some fans say, oh, you wait to the magic 61 minutes or what have you to make a change, and you think maybe you just want him to be a bit more proactive. We hear this term all the time. You've got a good team on paper. Well, paper doesn't win you games, and the frustrating thing is, we talk about cup finals. You can't keep expecting now, like we're having to as we record this, hope that on Wednesday night Preston do us a favour by beating Derby. We can't keep hoping that other teams are going to do us a favour because you've got to look after your own house at the end of the day. And I think it's individual errors again that are costing us goals and points. And that's been a reoccurring theme, I think, of our season at the minute. And again, as each game goes by, the worry increases. And that dread and the fear just carries on increasing again.
Well said. Is Vincent Tan watching the games? Does he care, James or Jamie? Do we know? Will he be keeping a close eye on what's happening here? And is he likely to even know that how bad it is?
I think more Ken Chu and Mehmet Dalman will be sort of relaying the message to him. But I don't know what goes on in his head, to be honest. Yeah, it's mental. Obviously, we know that we got an owner that don't really care about the club. I think the last game he come to is either last season or season before at Hull home on a Tuesday night, and yeah, like there's just been nothing from him since.
If you lose to QPR, Jamie, and then lose midweek to Preston, is that the button got to be fired for the final 4 games, 5 games?
I mean, again, I know people say about Warnock and stuff like that, but it feels like if they were going to do it, they would have done it by now. We are a very reactionary club in regards to like very quick to put to pull the plug on certain things. Riz has been in charge now for a long period of time, so we've known what he's going to offer. He's had January, and certain games he's done well, and you think, well done, we've got something, we've cracked it now, and then whether it's not all on him. I know he's the manager, and I know again when I was very passionate after he changed to 5 at the back at certain games, but there's experienced players on that on that field that necessarily aren't doing their jobs. When errors, and like he talked about mentality yesterday. Well, for me, the mentality starts from the top. And again, the mentality's got to, especially after half time, you've got to be sending those players out with the right mentality. Because if the away team are more hungrier and they're more awake and aware, then why is that the case? You'd have to ask that question. Vincent Tan, at the end of the day, is his investment. He's ploughed, a decent chunk of money into it, and if he continues to allow these things to happen, then unfortunately he's going to be the one that is going to have that pie on his face and admit that he got it wrong, which we all know he never would say.
Well said. Okay, let's change tacks. Then we're talking about the Fair Play League this week because there's been some suggestions that Cardiff have been a little bit light in terms of tackling this season. We expected a little bit more. Let's have a look at the official statistics of this. You are the 11th dirtiest side, so that doesn't certainly back up some people's views. 70 yellow cards, 3 red. Nowhere near how dirty how Preston are though. At the Pompey at the top there. James, does it surprise you that you are the 11th dirtiest? Have you expected more from your side in terms of disciplinary issues?
No, I'd say it's probably about right, to be fair. Obviously, we've picked up a lot of yellow cards because of probably the spaces that have been opened up during the games, and sort of the fouls that had been drawn through sort of like the midfielders or like the wing backs from sort of where the opposition team have exposed them areas. So, yeah, probably about right.
Okay, Jamie?
Yeah, I it sounds daft, but I wouldn't have been against having more yellow cards if that meant stopping counter-attacks. You see Preston there, Portsmouth. You could argue that Portsmouth are there, and that's percentage of theirs could be at home, but that is why they've got fight. It depends on which side of the coin you're looking at, isn't it? Yellow cards don't mean you've done something dirty, or neither does a red card. But there is tactical nuances you can do, which can delay games, or they can stop transitions, and I don't think we've done that well enough at times this year. Yeah, I would say we're probably at times too nice. Which it sounds daft me saying that. I'm not meaning to go and hurt somebody, but pull a shirt doesn't hurt anyone, does it? So I'd love, I'm not against that, but hey, we're middle of the table for something, and we're bottom of the table. We're near the bottom for something which we don't want to be.
When you look at the number players in the whole league and rank them in terms of disciplinary issues, there isn't a single Cardiff player in the top 30. You have to go down to a position 31 to find Perry NG with a 9 yellow cards. Probably most of them for diving at the moment. He spends this needs to stay on his feet a little bit more. as many suggested. Yes, so come on. Yeah, who'd have thought? I'd have expected Cardiff to be a little bit stronger in this. God, you've got some really tasty tacklers in midfield. Okay, thanks for that one. Finally, this week, then we're asking you about club country. It always comes up after international break, so it's reared its head again. James, would you rather see Cardiff be promoted to the Premier League or Wales win the World Cup?
I'd rather us stay up first, Mark, to be honest, before we have that discussion.
Assuming you stay up.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd probably have to pick Cardiff. Yeah, Cardiff over Wales, to be honest.
Okay, Jamie.
Yeah, I agree with James. I think I'm probably more invested with the club in terms of the bread and butter for me, going home and away, watching it, etc. I think I can't profess to be country over club, But again, who wouldn't want Wales to surprise the world and little old Wales to do it? But like James said, I think it matters a lot more when you've got 46 games in a season. So yeah, I think club for me.
Right. Let us know in the comments whether you agree or not. Right. Enjoy the trip to QPR. We'll review that, of course, on this channel next week. We're also talking about the best Cardiff City goal of the season next week. So get your thinking caps on for what's the best goal you've seen scored. And we'll count down some of those next week. Thanks, Jamie. Thank James. And thank you very much for watching. Do press the subscribe button before you go. Have a great week, everyone.